First though, are you or someone you know feeling anxious about getting back to normal after lockdown? UK Bristol is launching a campaign called One Small Step to Reconnect. It's aiming to help people rebuild their confidence now that COVID restrictions have been lifted. I've been speaking to the Chief Executive of UK Bristol, Kay Libby.
So basically, we've been meeting with a number of other organisations. We've been hearing from older people who call us and who meet up with us. They're really finding it hard to get back out into the community and into doing things that they used to do before, since the restrictions have lifted. And I think we realised that for some older people, that long period of self-isolation, particularly for those who are clinically extremely vulnerable, and maybe those who have sight loss, people who are slower at walking, the mere thought of going outside the front door and not knowing how to socially distance or what to do with other people who are walking towards you, those kinds of things are just sort of frightening some people into not even making that first step outside. So we wanted to have a campaign that addressed that and tried to help people, maybe supporting them to do something small within their own homes, and then to connect just one small thing at a time rather than it seeming overwhelming.
We'll come on to some practical suggestions for people who want to get back to a kind of normality in a moment. But just first, Kate, to anyone who's listening who is feeling anxious about reconnecting with society, what would you say to them?
I would say you're not alone. I think that's the main thing. People are frightened sometimes to talk about this. They feel a bit uneasy to even raise it, especially if it's just a slight anxiety. So people are afraid to talk about it, and I think the first thing is talk to one other person, because I think that connection is useful, but also that one person may be able to help you and connect you into something else. I think if anything, I would say call us, call our helpline, because we can talk you through those small steps that might be available to you locally. And I'm happy to give the helpline number at the end of the interview, James. But really, I would just say for people to remember that they're not alone and they don't have to do everything at once, just one small thing at a time.
Yeah, we'll give the helpline number out in just a moment. So if you need to get a pen and paper ready to note it down, maybe now's the time to do so. And Kay, in terms of some practical suggestions for maybe groups or activities for people to start doing as they get back to some kind of normality, are there any suggestions you would have?
You know, there are so many things going on out in the city, it's unbelievable, and things are starting to open up again. So with that in mind, start small, ease yourself in, find something you enjoy and connect with other people. There's a whole lot of stuff across the city. Calling our helpline, we can connect you with it, but just a smattering of some of the things. For people who think my first small step might be to join a phone group in my own home, connect with other people first. There are some wonderful projects. The Reader is an organisation who've got reading groups on the phone, and you have a reading session with other people. For those who feel that they can get out and about, there are things like Red Catch Community Garden. You can go and do some gardening with other people. Alive have got an allotment. Again, you can go and do some gardening with other people. There's yoga. The sight loss charities are especially looking at ways that they can help people. We've got UK Bristol working with Young Bristol on walking football for women and men. And all sorts of things like art on Zoom, again, for people who feel that they're going to stay in their own home for a bit before connecting. We've got walking maps for people so that they can see what kind of nice walks there are close to them. So you could do a 5-minute walk, a 10-minute walk, and gradually build it up. And for people with a mobile phone, there's an app that has been set up by Active Aging Bristol with all sorts of local walks in the city. So I've used that over the last few months because you really do find bits of the city that you didn't know about before. So lots of things going on across, but then if you go to your local community centres, you'll find all sorts there. Wellspring Settlement has got a What's On page on their website. BS3 Community has got a Monday social club for older people plus more. Norwest Health Park has walking groups and fitness groups specifically tailored for older people. And South Meath Development Trust are focusing very much on for isolated older people. They can connect somebody with a volunteer. You can either work with them playing games, having a chat, whatever, board games, in their own home or in the community. So I think there are lots of things depending on your level of anxiety and willingness to get out and about, lots of things that would interest a wide range of people. And all of those things will be known to the helpline volunteers who staff our helpline.
Yeah, some really good suggestions there. What is the helpline number, Kay?
Yeah, thank you. It's a Bristol number, landline. It's 0117 929 7537.
That's Kay Libby, Chief Executive of Age UK Bristol, telling me about their new campaign to help anyone over 50 reconnect with society if you're feeling anxious after lockdown. Just to give that Age UK helpline number again, it is 0117 929 7537. 0117 929 7537. And if you missed it, give us a call, we'll pass it on to you. Good morning, welcome to the Breakfast Show. It is Monday morning, the 2nd of August. First of all, where did the weekend go? Just seemed to fly by. And also, where did July go? How are we at August already? But there you go. On the way, before 7:30, we will bring you the latest from Tokyo. But first, are you, or someone you know, feeling a bit anxious about getting back to normal after lockdown? Age UK Bristol is launching a campaign called One Small Step to Reconnect. It's aiming to help people rebuild their confidence now that COVID restrictions have been lifted. Kay Libby is the Chief Executive of Age UK Bristol.
So basically, we've been meeting with a number of other organisations. We've been hearing from older people who call us and who meet up with us. They're really finding it hard to get back out into the community and into doing things that they used to do before, since the restrictions have lifted. And I think we realised that for some older people, that long period of self-isolation, particularly for those who are clinically extremely vulnerable, and maybe those who have sight loss, or people who are slower at walking, the mere thought of going outside the front door and not knowing how to socially distance or what to do with other people who are walking towards you, those kinds of things are just sort of frightening some people into not even making that first step outside. So we wanted to have a campaign that addressed that and tried to help people, maybe supporting them to do something small within their own homes, and then to connect just one small thing at a time rather than it seeming overwhelming.
That's Kay Libby from Age UK Bristol. It's launching a campaign called One Small Step to Reconnect, which aims to help people rebuild their confidence now that COVID restrictions have been lifted. By the way, they've got a really good helpline number. If you want to know what practical support and opportunities there are available, they've got loads of suggestions for groups and activities you can get involved in. Some you can do from home, some might be out in the community if you're trying to find a way to slowly start getting back out there. Here is the helpline number, 0117 929 7537. Age UK's helpline number, Age UK Bristol that is, 0117 929 7537. I'll give that number out again in a bit. Pat from Ashton and Margaret from Longwell Green have both got involved with volunteering. Let's have a chat with them. Morning, Pat. Morning, Margaret.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. Thank you both for coming on the show. Pat, to start with you, just tell me what lockdown was like for you.
Well, to be fair, lockdown wasn't especially hard for me for two really good reasons. One, I still have a 40-year-old son living with me, and he was much more technically able than I am. So he helped me get onto Zoom meetings, onto Zoom lectures. He set up Audible books for me. He set up lots of things on the computer that I would have struggled to set up for myself. I do have strong feelings about this, that my age group are often in digital poverty, but it's not good enough just giving out computers. You need somebody to help them.
Yeah.
But the other reason when it wasn't so bad was that I'm an embroiderer, so there was plenty that I could do indoors, plenty that kept me busy and happily occupied. And in addition, I also write. At one stage, I was writing a weekly diary for Bristol Older People's Forum's Facebook page. So the combination of those things, plenty to keep me occupied and lots of help with the digital aspects, made it bearable for me.
And Margaret, what about you? Did you have a similar experience?
Not quite. There were some similarities. I live with my husband and my 40-year-old daughter. So we had a bubble. I also belong to the WI. So to begin with, like a lot of people, we enthusiastically cleared out cupboards and did a few jobs at home. And I did some knitting for the WI for the Seamen's Mission. So that was fine. I agree with what the other lady said about being older people when it comes to IT. They need someone to teach them. Although I dealt with IT at work, I'm afraid I was very lazy, and if I had a problem, I would just phone up the IT department and they would sort it out for me. And all of a sudden, I had to sort it out for myself, and I did find that a bit of a nightmare. Especially at one point, my computer did die on me.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. But I was lucky in that, as a family, we had a small family bubble, and I was with one of my sisters looking after my mum who has dementia. So to begin with, especially the first lockdown, I was busy. With the second lockdown, like a lot of people, I found it a little more difficult. You know, you can only find so many new recipes to do or knit so many hats.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest, the novelty had worn off by the second lockdown. And by the time we had the third one, I mean, blimey O'Reilly, I mean, we were so over it by then.
Yes.
But Pat, how are you feeling, would you say, now about life getting back to some kind of normality? Because I think everyone is kind of approaching it in a different way. Some people very keen to get back out there. Other people quite anxious, and understandably in a way. Where would you say you are, Pat?
I'm actually okay with getting out and about. I've actually been to the Scilly Isles on holiday.
Oh,
so obviously I was being quite brave doing that. It was a bus tour. The bus was beautifully socially distanced, but I can't say that of the ferry going over to the Scilly Isles. But it was over 3 weeks ago and I'm still healthy and hearty. I'm lucky BS3 has a social group. We've had it for about 4 years now. We always met up regularly in a cafe and then we did trips out. Well, we're not doing the trips out at the moment, but we are meeting in the tobacco factory open air cafe. Now that has been a great boost for a lot of people. They feel quite comfortable. Ben Barker, who sort of oversees the group, he tried to find out what people felt, and initially they were all happy with going out in an open air cafe. But I also have to admit I've been into restaurants, been to the zoo with 2 of my sons on one of their birthdays. They are adults, they're all in their 40s, but we wanted a day out. So I've been quite confident about going out and about. I took it easy to start with, made sure it was always open air to start with, but now I will go into a restaurant to eat, and I will go into other places, but I'm still wearing a mask now, and I'm still meticulous with the hand washing. And what I say to other people is, be brave, you know, do try and get out there, but also be aware of what makes you uncomfortable and be prepared to tell people if they're making you uncomfortable. Now, I host a Zoom social meeting for Bristol Older People's Forum, and the feeling at the moment that I got at the last meeting is people are not wanting to go on the buses. The buses now, you don't have to wear a mask, and there's absolutely no social distancing on buses. So that is going to be a problem for some people.
That's a really interesting point, actually. But buses is a good point you raise, because you're right. You don't have to wear a mask now, and even if you still do, and a lot of passengers might, because you go into the shops these days, most people are still wearing masks, which is on one level, I suppose, quite encouraging. on the buses, although it's recommended, there's no requirement to. And if a few people aren't wearing one, maybe you feel, well, I don't want to go on there if they're not going to wear a mask. Margaret, what would you say about how you're feeling about getting back out and about?
I decided that I think with life getting back to normal, I think the difficulty is that one day you're told we're in a pandemic, you've got to do this, you must stay in, and almost the next day you're told, well, that's all right, you can go back and do everything. And I think for a lot of people, this is quite frightening. So what I decided to do was to start doing things that were important to me. I started to go to a Zumba class with my daughter. It was beautifully, distant, safety. She took our names and addresses as we walked in through the door. Safety was of paramount importance to her. And I've done this Tai Chi for Better Health course, which I will be starting to do lessons in September at Longwell Green in the basketball court. So it will be out in the open air. You have to be 6 feet apart because your arms will be going everywhere. So it will be a very safe as well as healthy environment. And you have the advantage, of course, of having a very gentle exercise routine that is physically good for you without over-taxing you. And this is obviously for older people. And of course, it's very relaxing. I mean, you literally can't think of anything else but these gentle, flowing exercises while you're doing them.
And do you think, Margaret, that people should, I mean, it's interesting hearing from Pat there saying, her advice to people would be, look, just be brave. You may be a bit scared, and that's perfectly understandable about getting back out there, but you're going to have to at some point. Would you agree with that? Do you think people almost need to be a bit brave?
I think the first step is going to be your hardest. Once you do that first thing, which it may be joining a local walking group out in the fresh air, very little chance of anything happening to you, and you've got the safety in numbers, you've regained contact with other people, which for an awful lot of people, this last 18 months must have been a jail sentence for an awful lot of people. Yeah. They literally have been stuck at home, some of them on their own all this time. And it's almost going to be a bit like being released from prison. So I would say, yes, work out what you feel comfortable with. And be brave. Just do that one thing. And when you've done that one thing, you will feel so good. Your confidence will come back, and you can gradually go back into life. I was going to say as it was before, but I don't know if it will ever be
some
quite
kind of
correct.
normality returning. Yeah, absolutely. Margaret, thank you, and Pat, thank you as well. Margaret from Longwell Green there, and Pat from Ashton. This morning we're talking about a new campaign by UK Bristol called One Small Step to Reconnect. It's all about practical help to rebuild your confidence if you're still feeling anxious after lockdown. And just to give you that UK helpline number again, they've got loads of support on offer. It's 0117 929 7537.
The sound of where we